All right.
Years ago, H.G. Wells visualized roads such as these in his science fiction fantasies. And today they're a reality.
You're listening to The Afternoon Commute with John Adams and Chris Kendall.
Welcome to The Afternoon Commute with Chris Kendall and John Adams. Today is 9/9/16. If you'd like to hear previous episodes of The Afternoon Commute, you can go to hoaxbusterscall.com and you'll see those posted up there alongside the most recent episode of Chris's Monday Night broadcast, the original Hoaxbusters Call. Also posted up there are various articles and videos and special reports. Some of those are original in nature, so make sure you check those out. For any and all things Hoaxbusters, go to hoaxbusterscall.com today. Chris, it's been a while since we've done an AC. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good after our month-long hiatus there. Feel refreshed. And yes, I had some family business go on, which maybe I'll talk about at another time, but not today. Today we are going to, as we do on a yearly basis around this time, we're going to talk about 9/11.
Right. Now,
I think we always have a nine. We always have a. Oh, I did. Yes, actually. So 9/9/16. So we have 3 9s because 6 is actually 9 upside down, and then we have a 1. Or but see, here's the thing: when you turn the 6 upside down and you get a 9, then you have 3 9s, right?
that's right. Yeah.
But then you turn the 9s upside down and you have 6, so it's actually 666.
Oh, right. Do you in the 6th? Right. Okay. But you lose the 1 and you don't carry it. But
it's okay because the 1's there to represent the 11, so it's 9/11, but it's also 666.
Okay.
Glad we got all that out of the way.
Right. Yeah, that's good. It's always to break it down by the numbers. So,
and it's, it's the 850th day since the start of the Civil War. So there's that correlation as well.
That was only 850 days ago? Wow. Seems just like
yes.
yesterday. Civil War.
No. Well, see, Chris, history's been altered. You thought it was a lot longer time ago than it actually was.
Yeah. Well, revisionist, right?
Actually, now you were doing some revisionist history. I'm doing revisionist history.
Yeah, just one step further.
Basically, it's postmodernist revisionist history.
Well, yeah. I don't see why not. Well,
so
yeah, that's good. That makes sense.
Anyways, the height of postmodernism is basically having a reality that doesn't exist, and when you get into the realm of the mass media, that's when you have to start questioning reality. Unfortunately, for many folks out there, mass media is their reality, not part of their reality. Whereas someone like Chris or myself, I only consider mass media or media in general just to be part of my reality. It's something that doesn't overwhelm my entire day. I'm guessing that's the way your day kind of goes. Well, Chris?
Right. Yeah. I don't watch any television at all. I don't have a television, so I get everything secondhand generally.
Right, but in order to be able to do an afternoon commute or a Monday night Hoaxbusters call, you have to get engaged in some form of mass media to be able to keep up to date on some area of what it is we're going to talk about. And so one of the things that you've discussed multiple times over so eloquently, one of the things I like about what you discussed by yourself is how the mass media in and of itself is foundationally is manipulative, right? And one thing that we've discussed before is like that mass media doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. That would be a 2-hour discussion in and of itself why that wouldn't be a bad thing. But since its founding, its foundation, it's been bad overall. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but the way that it's been implemented and the way that we know it to work, it hasn't been good. And 9/11, for a lot of people, I was just looking at a USA Today earlier, and what they were talking about, you could probably find this online, Chris. It was USA Today's headline today is that for 9/11, younger people, like, they don't get it. They don't feel the impact of it, but for some, it's still raw.
Still raw, yeah.
Still raw, and so they show you they have a huge, massive picture of the building there with a big fireball coming out of it on the cover of the newspaper. And as Lynn and Honor has talked about many times over, that this is all part of the reconditioning of you to relive 9/11 over and over and over again. And I'm sure that this weekend will be no different than that. But this is going to be an interesting one, particularly because of the political cycle that will be coming up. And not that hasn't happened before, but in this particular, what's the spectacle that is this particular political cycle, the agitation of the average voter / person is at a heightened degree because of the elements that have been going on in this particular political boxing match. And so one thing that whether Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump gets in office doesn't really make any difference. I personally would rather have Donald Trump just because he's fun. He's more of a fun guy, and he's got a better looking daughter than Hillary Clinton does. So that's the only real reason for him to be in office for me personally.
Yeah, it brings more to the table entertainment-wise, I think.
Anybody who's listened to Chris and I on a regular basis know that, when we were younger, we liked wrestling a lot, and Donald Trump was in wrestling. Hillary Clinton wasn't.
Yeah. Right. So yeah.
So if you're involved with wrestling, I'm good. I mean, if Dusty Rhodes ran for president, I would vote for Dusty Rhodes. Wouldn't you vote for Dusty Rhodes?
Oh, well, yeah, I would probably.
If Dusty Rhodes ran as president, I would register to vote.
Yeah, I probably would too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would if Jesse Ventura ran for president, but I probably would vote for him just because he was a wrestler.
But see, Jesse Ventura has a political, he has a political background. If Dusty Rhodes just ran on the sole fact that he used to be a wrestler and he had nothing to do with politics, he just got up there and said, I'm going to be quite honest, I don't really, what we should do, I should probably do the Dusty Rhodes voice. You see, if I don't know much about politics, I'm just a wrestler. So I'm going to just get up here and say, yes, I'm a wrestler, and that's why I'm running for president. Then I would vote for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't know much about politics. He doesn't know much about history, but he knows how to, body slam you and, do a big elbow off the top ropes.
Yeah, and that's what counts.
That's what counts. And so Donald Trump has that going on. He's, you posted him, giving Vince McMahon a haircut, and yeah,
Well,
cool.
yeah, he shaved Vince McMahon's head. He shaved him bald. And
one of the other things that we've discussed recently in private, you and I, is the cultural phenomenon of the news being taken not so seriously. Newscasters, there is a trend, if people aren't aware of it, of people seeing live news broadcasts, like local stuff. Even one of them was on Good Morning America, but there's a really offensive statement that someone will run up into behind the news camera and say out loud in the background while they're trying to shoot local stuff, and basically it's abbreviated F her right in the P, okay? And it's not that I like that type of language or that I think that's great or wonderful, but what it is it's offensive, and there is a disdain for the news. There is a reverence for the news that has gone away, where people don't take it seriously. And the funny thing is the newscasters, because they take themselves so seriously in their ridiculous positions of reporting on non-news and things that don't matter at all, getting angry, so furious, or so, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just heard that, when literally, like, television shows and movies are riddled with this type of language, but yet if you say it on a live news broadcast, oh my God, it's so offensive, right?
right.
And so you have this, like, double standard. Obviously, the news tries to act like they're so, pure and innocent when they have these tart women dolled up there to go out there and report you swill, just garbage that substitute for news. And it's not that there ever was news to begin with, but see, I always feel bad for people. I don't ever think people are sheeple. I don't think that people are stupid or anything like that. People have been dumbed down on purpose. They've been victimized. And they've been victimized by the news. So it took a long time to condition people to accept this. So it's not that I don't even think that the average Fox News watcher or CNN watcher, I don't hold them accountable for anything. And it's the same thing with 9/11. I don't hold the average person out there who believes in that myth accountable for that myth. And even though you and I have discussed this before, I might say, like, okay, if someone believes that official story, that's an unfortunate thing, and they probably need to stop watching the fake news. But at the same time, it's not their fault, because they've been duped and they've been conditioned through years and years and years leading up to that event to believe that event was real.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so you recently discussed fake news with Tim Kelly, and you did a great job on that. I want to say that you did a really good job over there.
Oh, thank you.
And so fake news in and of itself, 9/11, at least in this century, is the king of fake news. And because it's been discussed so many times, we don't ever get around to discussing it. But let's just take the prima facie type stuff with 9/11, like that, just the stuff that, 9/11 truthers might talk about, that, bin Laden was in the cave. Well, let's take bin Laden. Like, do we know that there was a bin Laden for a fact?
Whether he even existed?
Yeah, we don't really. Right. We don't even really know that bin Laden existed. And right. Even if he did exist, even if there was this guy who was part of the bin Laden family and he took on this acting role of some sort of Muslim terrorist with the turban and the beard and the whole bit, he himself was not a real Muslim leader, terrorist / whatever. He came from a completely and totally westernized billionaire family. I mean, it would be the equivalent, and I use this because it would be like George Bush getting a beard and a turban and going out in the desert and leading Muslims around.
Right, yeah.
That's what the Bin Laden the Bin Laden construction firm, which we've talked about before, I've even heard people say, I don't know that this was actually true, but I've read things before saying that the Bin Laden construction firm was used in the building of the Twin Towers, which
well,
that's true.
I heard too that Osama bin Laden was responsible for bombing the barracks in what was it, Kuwait or something like that, and the Bin Laden construction company rebuilt the barracks. Several different so-called terrorist attacks. Bin Laden family rebuilds. I'm not sure about that. I mean, about that. I've heard some stuff to that effect.
Right, and I mean, even if that's true, it makes a lot of sense. Which that's one thing that not only the powers that be like to do, but it's in part of the Freemasonic. The allegorical realm of the Freemasonic belief is that you destroy, rebuild, destroy, rebuild, destroy, rebuild, right?
Yeah, when you hear the saying "out with the old, in with the new," that's supposedly Masonic.
That's right. It's the phoenix bird, out of the ashes rises the new, all that type of stuff. So that's for anybody who's not familiar with this type of stuff, you can just look at the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers were destroyed on purpose, not by planes, not by space beams, not by anything else, but just regular old controlled demolition. Probably no thermite was I doubt thermite was used in it. Thermite, whatever it was. Stephen Jones used to talk about back in the day. You get all these wild theories out there where there has to be some extreme level of something to be able to bring these towers down. It's like, no, it was a controlled demolition, just like they controlled demolition anything else, just like any other building.
Right.
And I wasn't there, obviously. You weren't there, obviously. But whatever did happen that day, we've actually never really seen it. I think that's one thing that we know, or that at least that we can speculate, that we've never actually seen what that demolition really looked like, because the footage itself is highly suspect of being altered and computer graphicized. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think my own personal belief is that what we saw that day, no matter what footage it is, it's CGI.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And that's why I say I think. But here's the thing, I don't know for a fact, but all of the stuff is highly suspect. I mean, like, Chris, you have a lot more background with computer graphics than I do, me not knowing much at all. But can you just talk about how the possibility of, like, the backgrounds changing from, like, different video footage would be highly improbable on, like, something that was shot, like, regular? Like all the different colors in the background of the buildings?
Well, you're supposed to be looking at broadcast quality footage, and all the video from that day is really low quality in appearance, and you'll see the different. You'll see one video where it's like this orangish yellow cast over the whole, and then another different one with it's like a blue. No, I don't have any ideas on what the technical reasons for that are, but whatever the case, that's not reflective. I mean, if you just think about what broadcast quality video has, what typifies it, I mean, you don't have color aberrations and really what appeared to be like haze on a perfectly clear sunny day. You know, you don't have those anomalies in broadcast quality footage. It just doesn't. That's not something that you're going to see with that level of, you know, fidelity with a camera. It's just not something you're going to see. But for some reason on 9/11, that's what we saw, and that to me that indicates that there's no doubt something going on with the manipulation of the footage, and but then again too, I don't have any ideas on what, you know, specifically that is as far from a technical standpoint, but I think it definitely speaks to some. Well, I think another thing too that you could look at would be if you took all the broadcast footage and what Simon Shag did on September Clues, and if you put in September Clues Jackpot, I think that's the one that goes into that, where it's like, yeah, all the imagery is like the same footage. It's like all the different media outlets, CNN, NBC, ABC, were broadcasting the same footage at the same time. It's that is not any, that is completely atypical of what's normal. So yeah, why was that? Well, obviously they're drawing from one source or one feed, and, you know, again, what are the technical reasons? I'm not sure, but is that something that is normal, especially in a city like New York City, where, you know, it's basically like a media hub. All the media outlets have, affiliates there with their different, you know, local news broadcast stations and all that. Yeah, and guess what? They have cameras. They have broadcast quality cameras. And if you think that they couldn't get out on the scene and have, you know, all kinds of different footage from all kinds of different angles and standpoint at a broadcast quality, you know, but we didn't see that. Like, where is that? You know, it's a very, but see, now if you're invoking fakery and you're invoking synthetic imagery, it makes sense. You know, everything was economized down to one centralized source, and then you know, that's has a lot of explanatory power for what you actually see. Now, if what was presented is not congruent with reality, let's put it that way.
Yes, and so the connection that I was making with the earlier thing about the mentioning of the disdain for the media is that I've had a disdain and distaste for media for a long time. Even back when I was, you know, thought myself very informed about politics, back when I used to watch, you know, hours and hours of C-SPAN or something like that, which I know you've had that same time period in your life as well, and I'm sure a lot of listeners who get into politics and get into learning about things do that. You oversaturate yourself with media, watching every news thing, getting updated on the most recent thing. But you start to get it. Eventually, you come to a point to where you start you're watching something and you're getting angry so often because you're watching this, because these people are talking about things that are intended to anger a certain type of person. Okay? And no matter which side of the political, we've talked about this before, this is something that doesn't get mentioned very often. I think really the only place I hear people discuss it is me and you. And that is that when Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump comes out and says something, it's a double-edged sword. They know that it's going to, they're aware of the fact that it's going to appeal to a certain person, and at the same time it is going to make another person angry.
Uh-huh.
So they're aware of both sides of a statement. Okay? So someone may think, oh, he said that because, or she said that because that appeals to somebody. But actually, they're aware of the fact that this is going to make somebody angry, and that in and of itself is part of making a statement as well, knowing full well that the opposition will be created from that statement, right?
Uh-huh.
And so media does this as well when they have overtly biased news.
Right.
For the most part, the media is what you would call liberal, not in the sense that most people believe themselves to be quote unquote liberal, but the liberal media, that's something that gets thrown around. So it is overtly Democrat. And you have to, even when you watch Fox News, like they're not technically a conservative outlet either, right?
Right.
Like what people might believe themselves to be conservative, but a lot of people who watch that might make exceptions because they call themselves a conservative outlet to an extent, or whatever it may be. They go along with more of the views of that type of person watching. But once you become aware that the media in and of itself, whether it's on the lower level, either Democrat or Republican or right wing or left wing, all of it at the same time starts making you mad. And then I myself, I've talked about this before, but I started to have a disdain for the newscasters. Because I started thinking to myself, okay, how could someone like Diana Sawyer not know that 9/11 was an inside job?
Well, she gets paid, what, $14 million a year or something like that?
Right. So, you're telling me that these journalists, all these journalists, all these newscasters, they're supposed to be journalists. They went to school for journalism. They got their degrees and all that stuff, all the schooling, all the nonsense that goes along with it. And yet this glaring thing, they can't figure it out. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous, right? And like you've said in the past, like if you could just point out like one thing about one anomaly, that shatters the entire thing, right? You pointed that out with JFK. So if you can point out one thing with 9/11, you made the point on Tim Kelly's thing where, if you could just point out Building 7, that shatters the whole thing.
Yeah, there's no plausible, even remotely rational explanation for that, and it's pretty bizarre because, there's no rational explanation forthcoming, and you have just like the National Institute, the NIST, declaration that it was fire in the building and that's what brought it down, which is actually preposterous. It's something that's totally unprecedented, doesn't happen. But then they're going to tell you that it happened, and then that's just supposed to be the end of it. Well, here's the experts telling you that something happened that is essentially impossible, and that's what stands. And then, to this day, it's like if you even question it in certain spheres, like in the political sphere or something like that, like Hillary Clinton just got through making a statement about Donald Trump's association with Alex Jones, and then part of the guilt by association connection she was making, she talks about, Alex Jones thinks 9/11 was an inside job, or he actually thinks that 9/11 was not what the official story says it was, and which that statement right there is completely insane. that is completely insane. I mean, if you believe the official story of 9/11, or let's say you do believe it, but you don't think that there's any questions that are open as far as what went down, then either you're totally out of it, you don't have any cognitive ability to speak of much, or you're just in complete denial. But that's where we're at with this stuff. I mean, it's so, and that's something that I rant and rave about. It's like about politics and the typical average everyday political banner that gets thrown around. It's that it is completely out of touch with reality. You might as well be listening to a couple of schizophrenics just talking random bullshit, about, how, I don't know. I mean, just something just totally nonsensical as to be just incoherent. Because that's where the political discussion resides and remains. It's just completely outside of reality. It's completely in some fantasy realm, some fictional realm.
Yes, I agree. And I would say on top of that you have that when you hear this stuff, and when you hear this through the mainstream media or the mass media in and of itself, whether it be Alex Jones or whether it be Fox News or Hillary Clinton or whoever it is, okay, you are receiving an overlay on top of reality, right? So there is what really happened, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like there's an old saying, I've read it in books before. It's like facts are not truth. Okay?
Facts are not proof. Uh-huh.
No, well, facts are not truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but so you can have as many facts as you want. You can have the same facts. Let's just say it's a fact that the buildings fell on 9/11. Okay, that is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that does not equal truth about it.
Right.
I mean, and so you can rattle off facts about anything all day long. You can say, oh well, Bin Laden, was this, and he was a CIA operative, and Bush knew, and all of the other things that have gone through. Here's the facts about this. Oh, there was put options on the United Airlines or whatever. Whatever. All those facts, but they do not equal the truth about what happened that day. And then, so what happens within, because truth will be very hard to, or impossible, actually, truth will be impossible to be assessed, even by you or I, because we'll never know the truth about what actually really happened.
Mm-hmm.
That paves the way for anybody to get up there and paint a fake reality over what it was that actually did happen, because Hillary Clinton doesn't know what happened, Alex Jones doesn't know what happened, but there's a painting of the reality. Oh, this is what happened. So you have people telling me, Chris and I have both qualified what we talk about, saying we don't know what actually really happened, but here's what we think, right? But see, reality gets painted over, and someone's going to tell you, oh, that's what's going to happen. And yeah, if you ask questions about it, then you're crazy, because this is what happened. Okay? And this happens with so many things out there. Like, if you're engaged with mass media, then you are being told the truth, quote unquote, about everything through the mass media. Now, I believe Chris and I have talked about this before, but see, it would be even hard for me to tell the truth about what actually happened as I've been driving. Okay? If I saw an accident while I was driving and I said, "Whoa, Chris, I just saw this accident. Here's what happened." That would be the truth from what I saw, and I would be honest about it. I would be telling you honestly what I saw, but that might not be really what happened.
Yeah.
You'd say, "Oh, I saw this guy and he hit this car," right? Well, from my perspective, that's what it looked like. But maybe in reality, that's not really what happened. Maybe the other car hit him. And so based off of that, and I brought this up before about how Gregory Bateson kind of talks about this, that perception, that being able to we've talked about managing and manipulating perception and how that's the biggest, basically the biggest thing. But if you're able to know that, if you're a culture creator, culture controller, if you are already aware of the fact that foundationally it's always about perception management, then that is the starting point of being able to build a story and a myth within culture. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what really happened. It doesn't matter what really went down. And media, the news media, and entertainment on top of it, because entertainment through osmosis accepts reality. So it's like if you're watching a movie and there's some sort of 9/11 reference, it's not going to be a 9/11. It's going to be a 9/11 reference that lines up with the official story. So if you're watching a television show and there's some reference to 9/11, it's always going to be contained within the realm of, of the official narrative.
Yeah, and it always goes that way with media, especially, is that officials, or now they refer to them as authorities. They don't even say officials anymore. If you notice now, it used to be anyone in the government or in a capacity to be in a PR position or something like that. According to officials, this happened. But then now they say, according to authorities, and there's been that subtle shift recently. But what it tells you is that, okay, authority or authentication, it's just that the implication is there always that whatever comes out of their mouth is tantamount to a fact in and of itself. It's not that it doesn't need verification. It doesn't need critical analysis or anything. It's just, if it comes out of an authority, by definition, by the word authority, it is authentic. It's authenticated by the fact that it came from an authority. It's sort of a tautology. It's like self-referential, fact-finding. With the media, that's the way it operates. It's that, authorities say, it's no longer officials, it's authorities. So, built into that is the implication that, or the inference that what is forthcoming is authentic. It's been authenticated. It's from an authority. It's an authoritative source.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have seen that shift away. And they are the authorities when it comes to this reality, because it's a very subtle thing. It's kind of hard to describe. I felt like I wasn't doing it justice there when I was just talking about it. But you see, it's like if you have this thing that's accepted by everybody, like an official story of some sort, whether it be 9/11 or whatever. And then if you're in a place like a business, you're at your job or you're at a party or something, and you start talking outside of that official story, then there is a bizarre psychological thing that takes place. Now you've gone to a different, you're moving into uncomfortable territory psychologically for the average person who is not cognitively aware. They're not even cognitively aware that they're in a culture. They're not cognitively aware that there's a mass media. They exist in a world where, when they, engage their smartphone or their computer screen, they don't think about all of the HTML and the cascading style sheets that go into making that work. They have no. They're basically subjected to the magic of technology, right?
Right.
And so they exist in that world of mass media where it's the trough that that everybody eats out of, and it's just there to partake of. So they never think outside that realm. And when you start talking about something like that, it's very uncomfortable, and you notice the uncomfortability. You notice that type of thing. And the thing that's interesting about that is when you look, like I was referencing, with the entertainment, how it's in the background. It's just background noise. That there's, it's like a cop show. I'll give you an example. Like you're watching a cop show, and the cop show has, militarized police on it.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody accepts it in their subconscious still to this day, watching those police shows, and you have militarized police with weapons and black uniforms and ski masks and the whole bit. You accept, when you're watching that television show, in your subconscious, you know that it's because of 9/11 that the cops look that way on the show. Because in a previous time period, you wouldn't have accepted a cop to look that way.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's in the background. It's in your subconscious that this is why this is. And so in entertainment, or if you see something on the news, and they're doing Homeland Security is beefing up at the airport because of 9/11 or whatever it may be. They don't even have to suggest 9/11. It's just even if it's not around, even if it's not September 11th, even if it's July 28th or whatever, it's beefing up Homeland Security at the airport is not even questioned in your subconscious because you already know why it is.
Mm-hmm.
So most people walk around engaged with a background that has been implanted into them through mass media as to why things happen. They don't have to question it. They don't have to wonder why. It's just there because since 9/11, you've had all of the cultural things reinforcing it to the point to where now you don't have to ask questions about it. You don't have to think twice. Okay. Now let me read something real quick, and I just want to say that Chris and I have been meaning to put out a second part to the HBC punk rock series that we're doing, and we've come up against some technical difficulties every single time we try to do that. For some reason, I don't know why. I'm a little suspicious at this point, but we'll just say that every single time we try to do one of these talks, something technically goes wrong.
Technically catastrophic.
Yeah, it's just bizarre the way the problems just pop up whenever we try to talk about that. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't appear like we're having any problems having our discussion about this. So, yeah, interesting. But one of the guests that we were going to have on that particular talk is a gentleman named Nino, and Nino sent me Guy Debord's Society, Spectacle of Society. And I just want to read this because this is what we deal with on a daily basis. And even though I don't agree with the Marxist Guy Debord and all that type of stuff, he has a good insight right here. And actually, that entire, I would definitely recommend people go read that, the Society of the Spectacle. It does have a lot of good insights into it. But here's what he says. It says, by means of the spectacle, the ruling order discourses endlessly upon itself and uninterrupted monologues of self-praise. The spectacle is the self-portrait of power in the age of power's totalitarian rule over the conditions of existence. The fetishistic appearance of pure objectivity in spectacular relationships conceal their true character as relationships between human beings and between classes. A second nature thus seems to impose inescapable laws upon our environment. Okay, so what he's saying there is that there's a superimposed nature through the spectacle, which part of the spectacle would be mass media. There's a superimposed nature on top of real nature. Okay, and that is what he refers to as the spectacle. But the spectacle is by no means the inevitable outcome of a technical development perceived as natural. On the contrary, the society of the spectacle is a form that chooses its own technical content. If the spectacle understood in the limited sense of those mass media that are its most stultifying, superficial manifestation seems at times to be invading society in the shape of a mere apparatus. It should be remembered that this apparatus has nothing neutral about it, and that it answers precisely to the needs of the spectacle's internal dynamics. If the social requirements of the age, which develop such techniques, can be met only through their mediation, if the administration of the society and all contact between people now depend on the intervention of such instant communication, it is because this communication is essentially one way. The concentration of the media thus amounts to the monopolization by the administrators of the existing system of the means to pursue their particular form of administration. The social cleavage that the spectacle expresses is inseparable from the modern state.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah, and he's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct that what he refers to as the spectacle is a superimposed thing by the state, the mass media. It's all one. It's all one thing. Now, of course, we all know that. But that in and of itself, it's self-empowering. It's the Ouroboros, the self-eating snake, but out of eating itself, it becomes powerful. And that's kind of like what 9/11 was too, is a self-inflicted wound. At least so we thought. We thought it was a real thing, but it wasn't real at all. There was no planes. There was no deaths involved with that. So it's a spectacle. It's like a simulacra spectacle.
Mm-hmm. And like when you say something like that, well, like no one died, no one got hurt. It was pure spectacle. Now that's what I tend to believe. And of course, to reiterate that, neither one of us were there. So you can't say of something like definitively, no one died. I'm not saying that. I don't know. Could there have been people that were put in the building and that died? Yeah, I suppose so. And I don't think that the point in conducting it the way it was conducted was particularly to say, to prevent from people having to be killed. Because I really don't think that the people who operate at a certain level, I don't think that they're really concerned about preserving human life, because that's not the point. But to put this out there, it's that, okay, so why do you think 9/11 was a fake made-for-TV movie? Because simply, when you look into this stuff, that is the most efficient, most effective way to get across the concepts and ideas. And here's this term again: perception management. that to manage and mold the mind, because that's already what goes on. That's already what we're familiar with. That's already that's how we're instructed on history, on our relationship to this thing called the state, and everything else is through fiction already. So why not have something that is presented as real, but at the same time, on the flip side, it is purely 100% fictional, because we're already conditioned to respond to fictional portrayals of events and to incorporate them into our psyche as real on some level. So this is just another iteration of that very thing that we're already completely familiar with. I mean, we're just like fish in water. It's just something that's like second nature to all of us. But what was, for some reason, it's super difficult to accept this concept that these events that are supposed to shape and mold our culture, which they definitely do, could somehow be literally fictional.
Yes, and I will also say too that I think the best way and the most simple way to put it is, I don't know if people died on 9/11, but I don't think that they did. So that's my opinion. I don't have to qualify that anymore. I just don't think that people did. And I agree with you. The most efficient way to get that whole thing done would be to fake everything. We've talked about it before. That is like you said. It's not because they care about life or they care about the people and they don't want to kill anybody. No, it's not that. You of course will have heard things. Oh, Chris. So what are you saying, that they wouldn't resort to killing anybody? Is that what you're trying to say? Right? And no, it's not that. It's not that they won't kill people. It's because in those particular instances, it's a spectacle that is stage managed, and that is that's the most least sloppy way to do it. It's the easiest way to get it all done. When I first started listening to Chris, 5 years ago, I can't remember.
About that, yeah.
13, 14, 15, 16, 4 years ago. So, I thought Chris was, I didn't think he was out to lunch. I don't want to say that. I just didn't agree with him. I didn't agree with him or any of the other guys who were on the call. I just said, oh yeah, this is a little much. This is taking a little bit far. But see, when you actually think about it and you actually, analyze it, you say, wait a minute, okay, if I just put all my preconceived notions aside and look at it analytically, what is the best, least sloppiest way to pull this off? And that would be, have a complete and total spectacle, fictional spectacle. That's what it is. Fake everything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to. And this would be something that would be years in the making. This isn't just like, a couple of weeks before we planned all this out. No, this is years and years in the making. We've talked about this before, how there's a high probability that other people have brought this up, that 9/11 was planned out at the time the Twin Towers were built.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that, sure.
That they were built for the purpose of having this spectacle play itself out.
Well, one thing that lends itself to that idea is that you got to ask yourself, why were they built in the first place? I mean, there's a book that I make reference to from time to time, the Divided We Stand, the Eric Darton book, but he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's not even broaching or conspiracy theory whatsoever in the book he wrote. Is like I think it was 1997 or something like that, around that time period, way before 9/11, where it's like, these essentially, to kind of paraphrase or sum up what's in that book, is like, these were boondoggles. They weren't they didn't reflect any kind of need for office space or anything like that. They had no real utility as far as what their proposed, existence is, like, as far as like, well, this is, millions of extra square foot of office space that downtown Manhattan couldn't even accommodate, didn't even need. And it's like they were like what he described as like white elephants. Like a white elephant is something that's like, it's just a financial burden on the individual that owns it. It doesn't really generate revenue, and it doesn't really, it's not something that, paid for itself. It's like, wait, so you're trying to tell me that, okay, the Rockefellers didn't have enough real estate savvy not to make that kind of error in judgment. Now, come on. It's just like, that is so far removed from, another thing that's so far removed from reality. Oh, well, they just made after all the wheeling and dealing they've done, intergenerationally, they're going to make this huge investment in this giant boondoggle white elephant thing that is just basically a burdensome, non-investment that doesn't yield any kind of perceivable benefit. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that that when they built them, it wasn't. Even at the time they were building them too. I think it talks about that this was a bad investment from the very beginning.
Yeah, but David Rockefeller didn't know that. Like, he doesn't know what a good investment is and not.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, the guy went. You want to talk about? We've talked about this before with the Rockefellers, how they sold Rockefeller Center to the Japanese, and then when the price of the real estate went up, they crashed the market and were able to buy it back.
No, I just say, like, you think an investment like that would be something typical of a savvy investment tycoon, that has got their elbows deep in everything, real estate, and then stocks, everything else. And it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't think it makes sense. I mean, no.
Well, another thing is that. And you pointed this out. You posted this earlier in the year. If we talked about some of the little ridiculous nodes of information surrounding it. So there was that famous picture of all of the missing, the missing signs that people made.
Yeah, all the flyers that were plastered all over downtown Manhattan. And the, like, okay, so you would have to slip into the fake reality of the 9/11 myth in order to believe that would actually be possible. Can you explain how that would be virtually impossible for that to be real? Well, okay, you have, so supposedly these towers fell, and you have, what is the official tally? And here's your inverted 666 is 2966 official final tally on the dead. As far as I know, I don't know, it's probably different official tallies depending on where you go. But so you have people that they don't know really. Okay, there's no identification of the bodies at a certain point or something like that. They don't know exactly if their loved one may be alive or dead. Okay, but with that said, they all get the idea at the same time to make what would be typically resolve to like lost dogs, which is interesting. It's like you see. Have you ever seen one of those lost dog flyers that's got like the numbers on the bottom? You can pull it off. If you've seen my dog, call this number. I'm sure you've seen those.
Oh, yeah.
Have you
all
ever
over the
seen
place.
one with like, have you seen my kid? Call my number. Have you ever seen one of those? I never have. I lost my child. If you see this child, can you call this number?
I have seen one with for missing people, but not children. But yeah, I've seen one. I've seen stuff, before you go to a gas station or something, and it's like, so and so has been missing, probably a runaway or something, right?
Yeah, you will see those, and a lot of those are like some come out of that Center for Missing Persons and all that. But I'm talking about like people just kind of taking them on themselves to put flyers out. I mean, what I'm getting at is that something that somebody would instinctively do if they have somebody that's missing, and then how effective would that be? But whatever the case, like the idea that everybody gets the idea almost spontaneously and at the same time to start posting flyers up. And then another thing too, it's like if you look at images of these things posted up on walls and stuff like that, they have, you see these odd patterns. Like, yeah, these all look like, not all of them, but like a good portion of them looks like they were from the same person. Like the same person that did the layout, and there's slight variations between, and then you see kind of stuff like that. But yeah, it just smacks of pre-planning and all that, like where it's just some coordinated operation. And then you got to think to yourself, like, well, okay, so you're launching out to post flyers for your missing loved one. It's like, okay, do you got tape? What are you going to do? How are you going to attach it? Are you going to tape it up? Are you going to tack it up? Or what are you going to do? But you see like this, like, these odd patterns are like, well, yeah, why do you see them all taped up the same way? And like all this kind of consistency throughout, just everybody got this, not only got the same idea, but they got the same idea how they're going to apply it, where they're going to post it, and all of this. It just doesn't make logical sense at all. And
if you go into a music store and say there's a bunch of bands who've got their flyers put up on like the bulletin board when you walk in the door or something, they all have different methods of posting it. Some are taped, some are thumbtacked, some are nailed, whatever it may be. Even on a light post, a telephone pole or something. Like there's all sorts of different methods of putting stuff up there, and like you're saying, they're all doing the same thing. There's a lot of stuff with like 9/11 and other things too, like other instances which we've discussed, where there's things in there that are so obvious that they're not obvious, if you know what I mean. Where it's like with the fake victims pictures, right? I think some of the people who were, used in it, do have real pictures and were real people and might even really be missing, quote unquote. But then there are other victims that are composite photographs, and they look like composite photographs. And then you start, when you're looking through a lot of these pictures of these quote unquote victims, they take on similar patterns where it's like, okay, there's like 5 guys in a row who have like the same mustache or something. You know what I mean? Like you said, it has a pattern to it where it's like, okay, they're going with the mustache thing here, but then over here they're going with like the glasses thing. Like these are all people with glasses. These are all people with mustaches. These are all ladies with, a flowered dress on or something like that. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like you get when you're doing a lot of this composite stuff. And like you said, with the flyers being posted up, the other thing is how did everybody know to go to that place to post up the flyers?
Yeah, can you repeat that last part? You were breaking up there.
I was saying, how did everybody know to go to that place to post up the flyers? Why didn't they post them all over the city in different spots? Why was it that one And it's like they did that flyer post thing so that they could have the iconic photograph to throw in all the magazines and newspapers.
Yeah, it's just got this really contrived air about it, and then you have to ask yourself too. I mean, what is the idea? Is that your missing loved one is walking around with like amnesia? I mean, if they're at the hospital, then you check if you're thinking maybe they survived and they're in the hospital in a coma or something like that. I mean, you probably get notified from the hospital, but if you didn't, you probably check the hospital. So it's like, what would be the point of a missing poster? Like, well, have you seen this person? Are they or do they just forget? That they maybe need to get in contact with a family member or their wife or something like that. It's like I just kind of okay, 9/11 happened, and I'm just hanging out downtown for a couple of days, checking out some different pizza spots, and then I just forgot that maybe I should call home.
Yeah, you were in the rubble pile. You wandered off. You're covered in dust. You're wandering around the city. You don't know what happened. You've got amnesia. You see a wanted poster of somebody that looks like you, and then you catch a glimpse of yourself in a window, and then you realize I'm that guy on the missing poster.
And it helps you piece it all back together, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and I just gave someone a great idea for a movie right there.
Maybe Tom Hanks could be perfect for that role.
He would. I mean, yeah, he's played every other fake thing under the sun. He might as well do that.
I would hope.
Are you going to see Sully?
No, I was looking at that the other day. Actually, it's like about the Potomac River plane crash and all that. No, will I see it? No, probably not. But
it's Hudson. It was on the Hudson.
Right.
Miracle on the Hudson.
Miracle, yeah, the so-called Miracle on the Hudson. So the fact that they're making a movie out of it, most likely that whole thing was fake and staged for some reason. I don't know what's going to be communicated through all that.
I will say this, that I think even before 9/11, but since 9/11 especially since like they had that bizarre thing over Rockaway Beach, the plane that blew up or whatever. Remember that? Like, was that a week after 9/11 happened? You know what I'm talking about? Like a week, wasn't it like a week later that the Rockaway Beach, some plane exploded over the,
Oh, right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah. There was like another plane accident. It didn't get much coverage in the media at all.
Yeah. Yeah, something. I think what we see since that point, like I said, it was happening before, but since that point, is a war on travel. Get people scared, and then especially so when you see all these plane crashes, planes disappearing, I mean, for the most part, generally speaking, I don't think I've ever really, as far as I know, I've never met anybody who's ever had a trouble with their flight. Like maybe somebody had to get down because of bad weather. I've actually flown in bad weather, and it sucks and it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because of bad weather.
Yeah.
So I know the reason why a plane might have to land or plane crash because of bad weather. Makes sense. Planes disappearing, planes exploding, they don't know what the reason is. Fear of planes, fear of the unknown, all that stuff is monstrously exploited. I mean, I have people that I've known for almost 20 years, like, they don't want to fly. Like, they're scared of flying.
Probably because of media conditioning.
Yeah, it's not even because of like, oh, I'm scared because I'm not sure philosophically if men should fly or not. It's not because of that. It's because, oh, if I go on this plane, I'm going to blow up. And that's what people think.
Are going to get you.
Yeah, something's going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. When it turns out flying a plane statistically is safer than driving a car.
Yeah, it's all about risk assessment, and that's something I want to go into because I kind of, from time to time, I kind of go off on a tangent about this. It's that, people, they have these perceptions about, with certain things being dangerous and other things like they just, completely disregard. And I bring up the point about, the fact that everybody has easy access to, highly explosive, flammable liquid, that we put in our cars and, we run our cars on it. It's something that's just ubiquitous and it's readily accessible. And nobody gives it a second thought as far as its potential to do harm in the wrong hands, right? Because that's now what we're being conditioned to accept, with these so-called assault rifles and stuff like that. That's we're being conditioned to believe that, we need more restrictions on these things. We need to get these out of, crazy people's hands. But, I bring the thing up with like gasoline. And another thing too, I just realized, thinking about this subject too, is that, John, that gasoline will get you high. I mean, it will get you really high.
Well, yeah, that's because we were talking about get hillbillies who get high off of drinking turpentine and fuel.
Well, there you go too. I mean, yeah, turpentine, fuel, yeah. Gasoline, if you inhale the fumes, like, I'm not recommending you do this because it, kills lots of brain cells and stuff, but yeah, you can just pour it into a cup. It's like really easy to get high on. It's super, super cheap. And, a lot of people like to huff gas, and it's popular among youngsters and stuff like that. And, I remember I tried it once a long time ago when I was, around teenager, just for shits and giggles, I snort gas. And it was like, yeah, I didn't like it. I don't really like being high, across the board. So, I mean, it's like, I didn't really, not my thing, but I was high. I was definitely high, as high as I ever remember being on pot or anything else. And, so, I mean, we're so concerned about people getting high that, the whole state apparatus, spends, countless man hours and countless billions of dollars keeping people locked up, all this DEA, that, SWAT team raids and everything else so that people can't get high, because that's supposedly something that government is supposedly, highly concerned with, like, preventing people from getting high. It's like, yeah, okay, what about these inhalants? I mean, what is being done about it? Because you certainly get high on it, and there's certainly no medicinal value to gasoline. So, and this is certainly a dangerous substance as far as its potential. But see, the point I'm trying to make, and I'm bringing this up, is that people this won't even cross people's minds in any kind of debate, gun control debate, or anything like that, or reflect on its implications or anything like that, unless they're told to by the media, by the talk shows and all that. Unless they are conditioned already, predisposed to bring these things up, people won't do it. It won't even. So what that tells me is that everything in the the so-called political arena and all that, it's like an intellectual prison, where it's like there's these set debate, there's these predefined, pre-scripted debates that everybody participates in, and nothing is interjected or introduced outside those predefined, pre-scripted parameters that are out there, and then they're constantly being propped up and presented and pushed out there in front of people to engage in, this so-called national conversation or whatever like that. But it is so controlled. It is so managed and maintained. It's startling. It's unbelievable. It's just mind-blowing.
Folks, do you know what it's like to have Hillary Clinton talking about you? I am in the crosshairs of the New World Order, folks. When Hillary Clinton has a speech, and she's talking about me personally, I get chills, folks. I get chills. Do you understand what it's like to have the eye of Sauron directly, the eye on top of the pyramid looking directly at you? Do you understand, folks? I am in the crosshairs of the New World Order right now. Right now.
He's probably friends with Hillary Clinton, if the truth.
I was just going to say you were just making a great point, because it's like if we didn't want anybody to if they didn't want anybody to know about Alex Jones, all you would have to do is not mention Alex Jones, but to have him be mentioned in the speech by Hillary Clinton, I mean, that's like the best thing that could ever happen.
Yeah, and the alternative media is a sort of it's sort of a relief valve. It's sort of a way to further manage people and get have another pin that's part of the overall, this what I call like a human ranch that we all live on. And that, and you see Jones doing the exact same thing. He's like bringing in, now he'll interject other things into the, so-called debates about, abortion issues and stuff like that, to a certain degree that a lot of other, so-called media outlets don't do. But still, with all the information that Alex Jones will present to someone that they probably never ran across or never even considered before, and that's actually, factual, relevant, a lot of it, it's going to be folded over into this particular paradigm with the idea that the state is actually a legitimate concept and that change can be brought about inside of the system and by way of, political action and, getting off your rear end and going to vote for Trump or whoever it happens to be. Yeah, it's okay to put certain things out. If you notice this too, it's like it's perfectly fine and acceptable to put certain things out there that aren't mainstream, as long as it can be interpreted within this phony left-wing, right-wing nonsense.
Yeah, or the court system, because we're still waiting for the 9/11, indictments. Bush and Cheney and Larry Silverstein and
they're going to be brought up on charges.
Rudy Giuliani. They're all going to be, Hillary Clinton's going to be busted for her emails. Eventually, Trump will see to that. That eventually court system will handle it as well. I mean, God, Chris, you're so negative.
I know. I mean, it's like I'm impatient too, because it's only been this is
14 years?
15 years, right? 15 years? 2001.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, 15 years.
It's only been 15 years, John. And
1 in 5 is 6.
Excuse me?
1 in 5, it's 6.
1 in 5, yeah. But, I mean, can we really expect, the court systems to be, really that efficient? I mean, they have a lot of, seatbelt tickets and, expired tags and, dried plant cases and stuff to work on. They probably, when they get around to really investigating 9/11, then we'll see Larry Silverstein go to jail and all that. But well,
we'll be there. We'll be there waiting with when they The one I always like to hear from alternative media personalities is when those guys do a perp walk. When Bush and Cheney do a perp walk.
Do a perp walk. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's no, that's another insanity that's being pushed out there. And, too, it's like, okay, yeah, I can kind of understand people thinking in that way, but then on the other hand, it's like, well, you got to look, and you don't know anything about this, probably because they don't have any familiarity with the system and how it actually works, but maybe that's how they get this totally wrong idea about actually having anybody have to account for any of this stuff, because it's just not going to happen. Sandy Hook, the investigation, all that stuff. It's like, and I made the point before, I don't know who, Wolfgang Halberg is. I never met the man. I don't know him, but like, I do know something for a fact that it's like, he's not going to get anywhere inside the court system. It's just not going to amount to anything. I do know that. I know that.
Yes, I agree. And that's not being negative. I don't feel bad after this conversation. Actually, I feel quite liberated. I'm glad we had this conversation, Chris. I leave justice to be served to a higher power. I don't know who that is, but it's not of my knowledge. And on that note, I'm going to be pulling into my driveway, as I used to say. And I want to bid you farewell, and then I hope you have a nice 9/11 weekend.
You too. Are you going to go check out any of the good bargains or the 9/11 sales? I saw. Yeah, Walmart, Mattress King or something. Yeah, Miracle Mattresses got a.
Yeah.
Actually, that is a pretty good deal. The two king size bed for the price of a twin. I mean, that's not too shabby.
Well, see, the thing of it is people are so up in arms. Oh my gosh, how dare you? But see, once again, it's like, is there? It's like 4th of July. It's like, does anybody put on the powdered wig and dust off their copy of the Declaration of Independence on 4th of July? Right? So when does anybody else?
Memorial Day sales, isn't that a slam on the people who died in the wars? But they're so common, though.
So it's like people don't really care about holidays and never really have. I mean, you can even go back and read Mark Twain complaining about people not knowing what holidays were about, right? Even back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, why would 9/11 be any different? Plus, you don't have to you don't have to remember, never forget. Here's what you need to never forget. Never forget that it was a big scam, whatever it is you happen to believe about it. Never forget it was a big scam. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to know. And you're going to get a better deal from Miracle Mattress than you're going to get from your government.
Yeah. As the sale, I guess it's going on this weekend. I don't know. They probably got totally bombarded by outraged folks, because it is, after all, like it's like a religious day of religious veneration. It's kind of like this collective, this collective conscious hive mind, religious base.
Well, people love they love, like, I don't know. It's the they love. It's like a self-righteous thing. I've been there before too. I know how it is. I mean, you feel kind of self-righteous and like that somehow this collectively happened to you, and even if you're a 9/11 truther or something like that, you feel like you've been victimized by George Bush or something. Don't worry about any of all that stuff. Go have fun with the family. Go do what you would normally do, and don't watch television. Don't watch the footage of 9/11, relive that moment over and over again. Forget about it. Don't worry about it. Go do what you need to do like you would any other day of the week.
Yeah, because I don't know. Do we have a day of remembrance for, you know, the releasing of Independence Day film? You know, it's like, oh, this is the anniversary when the movie Independence Day was released. No, it's just like a movie. Who cares? Yeah, you might watch it. Maybe that's a good idea for 9/11 weekend plans, to watch the movie Independence Day, and then think of the imagery that you're being presented with, and then think of what was presented to you later on 9/11.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's well, if you want to have like some traditional activities to commemorate 9/11, that might be a suggestion.
Yes. All right.
So.
I've got 2 twin towers of mashed potatoes waiting for me, so.
All right, man.
All right. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you next time.
All right, you too. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Amazing video as you're watching it now. It's not video, it's live. It's right before your very eyes.
No. We still don't know.
One man who gets an extraordinary view of the impact is Stanley Bremner. He has just returned to his office from the ground floor lobby.
You may wish to start an orderly evacuation.
Yeah, I guess.
So I'm standing up with the phone in my hand.
Well, we're fine.
My coffee and bagel that I bought when I was coming up still sits there on the desk. And I'm looking towards the Statue of Liberty, the direction of, with the phone in my hand. And that's when the plane caught my eyes. And this plane is bearing down on me. Eye level eye contact. I'm hypnotized standing up there. I'm not having time to react. All I'm looking at is this plane, and it's getting bigger. Lord, I can't do this, you take over. And I dove under my desk.
Duck and cover.
Hey, Bert, come on out and meet all these nice people. Please? All right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt.
So, and like you said, you saw, like, the wing was wedged into the door or something like that inside the
wing of the plane, is the angle. If you look at the plane, the second plane coming in, came straight and all of a sudden made it tilt.
Yeah.
That bottom wing sliced through the office, and the wing was stuck wedged sort of in the office doorway.
And was it still attached, or was it just the wing, or was it attached?
I don't know where the rest of the plane was, but all I can see is that bottom wing of the plane stuck in there.
Inside the building, still, like, you could still see it was, like...
Intact and all.
Intact and all?
Yes, that bottom wing. The plane crashes into a steel building. It would just break up in pieces. But its bottom wing just sliced right through and got stuck right there. I don't understand how... I may hit my head against the wall trying to explain this all, and I wouldn't be able to.
Wedged into the door intact.
Just wedged, right intact.
Wow, that seems impossible.
Yeah, it was something impossible in the real world.
That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, and I don't think anybody would take that seriously.
Congress designated the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History as the country's official repository of September 11th collections.
This handle belonged to John Dempster, who's a window washer at the North Tower, and he was trapped in an elevator along with several other people, and they found themselves when the power went off between floors. He used the handle of the squeegee to pry open the doors of the elevator, and they found that they were in between floors, and they used the squeegee and the handle to carve away through the drywall. And when they came out the other side, they discovered that they were in a men's room, I believe. They crawled out, and upwards of 5 people were saved because of this common everyday implement. And we are hoping that, I know it looks a little odd right now because they lost the handle when they were cutting through the drywall. It fell through. They had to use like the sharp bits right here to be able to say, and if you look very closely, you can still see some of the drywall is embedded on the piece. That's slowly been falling off of the object, so it's not something that we were able to maintain, but we're hoping that such a odd-looking thing by itself right there can help people better understand that, so many different stories happen on September 11th, and even everyday items as a squeegee.
The world's finest surfers showed up today to battle with what's turned out to be the biggest waves to hit this coast since 1946. Hello, everybody. I'm Stu Nahan. I'd like you to meet this young man. His name?
Pasquale Bazzelli. He was in the North Tower and says he rode down more than 15 stories of concrete and falling debris to make it out alive. It's the focus of a Discovery Channel special premiering tonight called The 9/11 Surfer.
It was so witching, man. Unbelievable. Everybody's talking about it, so...
And then just felt the railing just start to shake and this loud noise from above.
Pull back! Dude, you got the best barrels ever, dude. Just like you pull in and you just get spit right out of them. And you just drop in and just smack the lip. Pull back!
But I guess falling, or jumping out of a plane, that feeling of just riding the air, and getting knocked around and riding, that surfing kind of feeling was what I was experiencing.
Oh, gnarly! Drop down, snap, and then after that, you just drop in, just ride the barrel and get pitted, so pitted.
We had no idea whether he was fire or civilian or what he was. It really didn't matter. But the fact that we saw an individual up there after what we had climbed through in the position that he was,
pitted, so pitted,
it was nothing short of miraculous.
The name of the documentary is The 9/11 Surfer. Feels like an odd word.
Yes, very odd.
We have animation to show this harrowing ride that you had. You were on the 64th floor. You evacuated down to the 22nd and then fell essentially to the 4th floor.
Pull back! Oh, gnarly!
The name of the documentary is The 9/11 Surfer. Feels like an odd word.
Yes, very odd. I've heard about the urban legends. I've always read about it, and my wife was like, "That's you, and
But just like I told the guy on ABC, danger is my business.
They did a study on it, and they said that basically how it survived was probably in this pocket of air or this uplift of wind, or the way I described before.
Oh, gnarly!
You said urban legend, which it's true. Some people are skeptical. And you said if you had heard this story, you might have been skeptical as well.
Of course. So I couldn't even believe it myself at that point.
Why don't you get a job, Spicoli?
What for?
You need money.
I had done certain small local things because we started Song for Hope Foundation to try to raise money for the mothers that didn't make it at the time, whose husbands didn't make it at the time we were pregnant.
All I need is some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
And Louise, here you are at home. He had called you a couple of times. You saw that tower fall, and you knew he was inside.
And I was pregnant at the time with hope. It was just a feeling of just hopeless. And I was pregnant at the time with hope.
To people out there, you hear it all the time, get over it, 9/11, get over it. That's ridiculous. First of all, you shouldn't be telling someone else to get over it.
That's pretty neat. Well, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story and helping us remember today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us today.
Thank you.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.